When we think of ancient or medieval cities, it is not uncommon to picture profound or prolific architecture, but one element of engineering that seems to be reserved to modern thought is that of vast towers, or as we know them, skyscrapers. However, despite this, there's one 12th century city that seems to be an exception, and that is the city of Bologna. The geographical region where Bologna resides, northern Italy, has been inhabited since at least the 3rd millennium BC, but was not known as such until the 6th century BC. Not long after the establishment of the city, it would begin a rapid exchanging of hands, firstly to the Gauls in the 4th century BC, and not long after, the Western Roman Empire, with this back and forth exchange of the city continuing for several centuries. From King Liutprand to later Charlemagne, where the city would fall under Frankish rule from 774, and by the 12th century, the city would have fought for and won autonomy from Emperor Frederick Barbarossa, which is when the key component of this video really begins. Shortly prior to and following their autonomy, the city began to expand vastly, predominantly due to its appeal as a trade hub and unprecedented educational prowess, being home to the world's first recognized university institution, founded in 1088, and thanks to the continual expansion and vast economic opportunities, the city continued to attract many egotistical but very wealthy people, which is where the introduction of these not-so-medieval-looking medieval structures begins. Despite having no vetted reasoning for producing these towers, at the start of the 12th century, the city's wealthy inhabitants began issuing their own towers for the timeless art of showing off, or potentially to have them used as defensive towers during a politically unstable century. But do note that this is about how much room they would have had to defend with. However, looking past why, who actually made them? The towers themselves were built exclusively by serfs, which would see them working for 3 to 10 years in order to complete one tower. And with the city peaking at between 80 to 180 towers, you can picture how excruciating that labor would have been. The towers themselves ranged from roughly 100 feet to over 300 feet in height, which was exceptionally uncommon for such architecture with little functional purpose. Think a castle, but then, well, remove the castle. Moreover, and quite interestingly, one of, if not the tallest tower, is one of the few that is still standing today. The two towers of Bologna, Italy, measure 318.2 feet and 157.5 feet independently, which will make for quite the cool visit if you are in the proximity. However, with so many towers being built in such close proximity, and at such unusual heights, it is likely that ego of certain owners was to blame for their extensive numbers. Not to mention, only a century later, a significant number of these towers would either be demolished or simply collapse. However, regardless of their real purpose, they make for quite the interesting illustration and quite the neat history, with the medieval city being compared to that of Manhattan, which is pretty exceptional for over 1,000-year-old architecture. Architecture that is vastly different from its era and geographical region. If you plan to see the towers yourself, there are still 28 standing, that range from historical sites to shopping centers. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this brief video, consider liking and subscribing for future content.